You have got to get out of these places that are run by people who think that you don't have a right to even veto books. You notice he said they had a right to veto books, not to understand them or what was it intelligently. So everybody was just like, I veto books. What, they're not making intelligent decisions? No, they're just making decisions you, the people in power, don't agree with.
It's so revealing how completely absurd he thinks this idea is, that the parents would have a right to tell their kids, teach their kids what they should.
It's unbelievable.
What the system. I mean, it's like he thinks it's a completely bonkers alien idea that the parents would be in control of their own kids' education.
So may I recommend that, as I say to you, batten down the hatches. Anybody who says, boy, that's been a weird year. Well, I'll be glad for the new year. Shut up! Because it's going to be worse. If you think you don't recognize your country now, mark my words, this time next year, when I say, remember when I said, you won't recognize it from this year. It will be that different. And I can't recommend highly enough to get to places where you're not in the minority. Get to places where there are good, decent people who don't care who you voted for, but they do care if you love America and you believe in the Bill of Rights. You vote whatever you want. Do you believe in the Bill of Rights? Do you believe that all men are created equal? Do you believe there shouldn't be some dictator telling you exactly what to do and not to do? Because I do. And then more importantly, I think you need to live in a place where God and the Judeo-Christian ethic is really strong, because we're going to have to start relying on each other. And I don't mean we're going to rely on each other because you got caps and I got balls, and so we're going to shoot it up. I mean rely on each other for help, for food. You are going to see in the next year empty shelves everywhere. We are going to, that's if the economy still is chugging next year. If it's not, you're definitely going to see empty shelves. But you're going to see the supply chain collapse. Now, I want you to understand what that means. When the supply chain collapses, it's like I've said for 20 years now when I'm talking to you about my Patriot Supply. And I'll be like, because, when a truck can't make it to your grocery store 8 times a day to replenish the shelves, that's the average. Each grocery store is replenished 8 times a day. When those trucks aren't bringing stuff in, you don't have anything on your grocery shelves. How many of us have already experienced this in grocery stores? I know there are things and brands that I have wanted to buy. If I, for instance, can't buy, what's the Mexican water, the Topo Chico. I can't find that. Now, I know it's out there. I've gone to 3 grocery stores. I can't find it. Okay? What happened to that? And I don't know if it's a supply chain, if they stopped carrying it or whatever. I just can't find it. I know there are many things. I ordered a stove a year ago. When it was supposed to come in spring, they said it would be in August. When August passed, they said it would be in September. When September passed, they said, we're not really sure. We can't give you a date. It could be as much as another year. Excuse me? What? How many times have you gone to buy certain things and it's just not there anymore? And you're like, wow, that's weird. I'm telling you, these are the birth pangs of things to come. There is a group of dock workers, they're all the transportation people. They're the heads of the truck drivers and airlines that are doing cargo shipments and the seafarers. They went to the UN and gave the UN a massive warning and said, you're on the verge of a complete system collapse because of what the governments are doing with COVID, how they're restricting people, how they're giving disincentives to work. By paying people extra to stay home, it is collapsing the supply chain. The California ports, just the California ports, about to break. All that stuff sitting out on the coast can't be brought in because there's nobody to truck it. There's no way to get there's no way to get them out of the ports. There's nobody to put them onto trucks. And it's all because of the regulations that the government are doing all over the world now. Stu was just telling me he was just reading from what was the company?
Simple Modern.
Simple Modern.
Yeah, they make stainless steel drinkware is one of the things they make. Mike Beckham is the CEO. He says this is pretty scary. There's a major storm brewing in the supply chain.
Stop. Everything you think you know about America, forget that. You're in a new world. And listen to this with fresh ears, please.
It could dramatically impact everyone's life next year, but almost no one knows about it yet. We're talking about empty shelves, crazy inflation, etc. Here's what I'm learning about the problem from my contacts in China. As a communist country, China is centrally planned. That means things like electricity usage are planned in Beijing by party officials instead of governed by the supply and demand of the market.
Which is incredibly different than what Joe Biden is working on. They won't be centrally planned in Beijing, just centrally planned in Washington, D.C.
Totally different city.
Completely different city. And that's full of Chinese people. And in Washington, D.C. is not full of Chinese people. I mean, the differences just keep adding up to the point to where it's ridiculous to even mention central planning like China compared to the central planning here. It's completely different.
Here it's at the beginning of the year, China set electricity quotas for each province. As a result of supply chain disruptions from COVID and unprecedented factory demand, many of the provinces have used way more electricity than planned. Now, China doesn't have enough coal power.
So in other words, when they don't have a free market to be able to do the things with power that they need to do and just have companies incentivized to, from the free market to continue this, like it works here in America. The central planning, they run out of electricity. Did they stop building walls? Why don't they just build more walls with more outlets in them?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to check into that.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't cover that. The Chinese government has begun restricting electrical usage for the provinces based on how much electricity they have used so far this year. There's a green, yellow, and red system that is put in place that's how every Chinese or every government, communist government ever does. They've always got color-based systems.
Yeah, I know. DHS
and we would
doesn't
never
do that. We don't do
that. Some of our primary production is in a yellow region. These partners now have electricity caps and can work 4 days a week instead of 6. Their production has been cut by 33%, and these cuts are likely to last until the Chinese New Year. This is a big deal. In stainless steel drinkware, that's the business he's in, 93% of the world's production happens in one province in China. Of that production, about half happens from now until the Chinese New Year. What that means is about 20% of the world's production isn't going to get built this year. Products being produced in the more restricted red regions are going to get hit even harder. There are already stories about regions having to operate by candlelight due to the power rationing. The problem with COVID is that it led to cascading failures throughout the supply chain. If production drops so dramatically over the coming months, then empty shelves will be commonplace. We are talking about a situation where many product types will be completely nuked.
Do your Christmas shopping now. That's not what I want you to take from this article.
No, but with little kids?
Little kids, do your Christmas shopping right now, because it's going to be very bad this Christmas.
Even more concerning is what will happen on the other side of the Chinese New Year. The lack of production caused by the electrical shortages is going to cause an unprecedented amount of demand on Chinese factories in 2022. It's very likely that if that happens, we will see the biggest traffic jam the supply chain has ever experienced. This year, we got a taste of what happens when you apply pressure to the logistics supply chain. Next year, we may see a full break in some places. One additional point is that China is simultaneously rolling out its 2021 to 2022 autumn and winter action plan for air pollution management. This plan curtails even more production from factories with higher pollution. And it goes on and on. But you get the point here.
Okay.
We're talking about major disruptions. And it's like, I think we all went into COVID realizing like, holy crap, this whole thing could collapse. And I think I would say the majority of people are like, oh, I mean, that was rough, and obviously the health issues
Haven't
were
paid
one
for it
thing,
yet.
but we haven't paid an
bill hasn't
economic
come.
price like that.
No, the bill hasn't come yet, and it's coming next year. It is coming. Let me just go back to the ports in California. So, 40% of all of the stuff that comes in on cargo ships come into 11 ports in California. 40%. 30% of everything we ship out goes through 11 ports in California. Because of the workers that are not working, because the ports couldn't, they lost so much money when nothing was coming in. Now the demand is so high. So, half of the ships in port in California are called mega container ships. They have like 10,000 of those big cargo things in them, okay? That's double or triple the size of what cargo ships were 10 years ago. Triple the size. So it takes them a lot longer to load and unload, which means there are more trucks, trains, and warehouses that are needed to unload, store, and transport the good. Half of them are these. The wait now keeps getting longer and longer and longer. Containers are waiting nearly 16 days on average before they're being unloaded. And the ports are working 24 hours a day now. This is unsustainable. They have 100+ ships sitting waiting outside of Los Angeles alone to try to get into the ports. Everything that you're looking for on your shelf, a lot of it is sitting out waiting for somebody to open it and be able to get it onto a truck. It's sitting in the water right now. That's not all of the demand. As you heard, China can't keep up with the demand, and it's about to break in China because of electricity. But not just electricity, kids. They're also going now through a massive economic problem. Please hear me. Shortages are coming. You will look at shelves next year and you will wonder if you are even in the United States of America.